Hello, Ken Barnes here with Dealer Pro Training. In the past year, RV sales are on fire. Most dealers are experiencing record profits in sales. So my question to you is, do you have the right people and processes in place to maximize your service and parts gross profit? More importantly, what about down the road when sales drop off? Are you ready to maximize your service and parts sales and gross profit? Today, I'll be conducting a workshop on how to sell your service team on the need for change. By attending my workshop today, you will take away 15-point checkup on how to bring your net profit up, plus how to identify opportunities for improvement at your store. In addition, we will do a case study on an actual RV dealer on how Dealer Pro would address his concerns and improve his profits. Then we will talk about how to sell your fixed ops team on the need for change. And last, on how a personal trainer will help you achieve your fixed ops goals in 2022. First, let's get a brief overview of Dealer Pro Training. We've been in business for 21 years. We have trained over 1,400 RV, auto, and trailer dealers. This past year, the majority of our stores have experienced a 30% increase in service and parts gross profit or more. And this was not due to an increase in trailer sales and internal work. This has been based upon increasing actual retail and external business. Our training is centered around communication and processes. So let's get started with the workshop. So our program today, how to sell your service team on the need for change. Okay, so let's get to the workshop. How to sell your service team on the need for change. Here is our 15-point checkup to bring your net up. We're going to talk about key performance matrix, what the goal is. Are you at or above the goal? So first, let's talk about total shop productivity. Most shops that we go into prior to utilizing Dealer Pro are typically running around 50 to 60% shop productivity. Your goal should be 100%. At a bare minimum, you need to be at least 85. So are you at above that goal? Labor gross profit per technician per month. Your goal should be $12,000, and that is labor only, not including parts. Our advisor upsell closing ratio. Are you at 50% or higher? And what we mean by that is when we talk to a customer about something other than what they brought their unit in for service, were we actually able to make that upsell at least 50% of the time? One item, customer pay repair orders as a percentage of total customer pay ROs should only be 15%. So in other words, when customers come in, are we doing just what they brought it in for? Or are we actually talking to them about preventative maintenance and doing some sort of a courtesy inspection and selling additional services off of that? Customer pay labor margin should be at 75%. In fact, top stores that we go into are 80% and above. How do you calculate that margin? It's whatever you sell your labor for minus all of your technicians' wages. Retail parts margin should be at 40%. Policy adjustment as a percent of service gross should be at 2%. Parts operating profit as a percent of gross, 30%. Service operating profit as a percent of gross, 25%. Now, in both of these, I want to elaborate a little bit on this. I find that a lot of RV stores actually don't break out all of the expenses for each department. An example of that would be, what about your rent? What about your computer system? What about building maintenance? What about mowing the lawn? All of those things should be allocated to each department. So at the end, you can truly tell what my real bottom line net was per department, not just for the store. So therefore, you can truly see, is each department carrying their own weight? Let's talk about service absorption. To be at 100%. In other words, service and parts and body gross profit should be able to cover all of the bills for the store for the entire month if they didn't sell a single unit. PDI the unit whenever it's received versus whenever it's sold. How many stores aren't doing that? Warranty claims are paid within 30 days, should be 100%. Factory defects are repaired prior to the sale. This is very important. We should be checking units in, going through, submitting warranty claims immediately when that unit hits the ground, getting approvals, getting those items fixed prior to the sale. Let's present a good maintenance menu. Let's perform a unit health check on every unit that comes in our service and parts operation. If you check no to any of the above, you need a plan. So what is the measure of success? It's not whether you have a problem to deal with, but whether it is the same problem you had last year. It's a famous quote by John Foster Dulles. Very important, right? Is it the same problem we had last year? Probably even the year before. Let's do something about it and let's get it fixed. So let's talk about success. What is the definition of success? Success is a journey. It is not a destination. The definition is be the best that you can be. So what's holding you back? Are we just talking about it and not acting upon it? Is it our employees? Are they telling us that we can't do this for various reasons? Well, what we find is that in most cases, it has to deal with comfort zone. We all have them. Everybody, you've got it, I've got it. So what is comfort zone? Comfort zone is where we like to spend our time. Well, what we find is that a lot of our employees' comfort zones aren't the optimum for the actual position that they have. And quite honestly, that could even apply to a dealer or general manager. So as management, we need to be able to be the comfort zone mover. For our service advisors, we need to be able to get them so that it's comfortable to make menu presentations to every customer, so that it's comfortable that we communicate with every customer on what to expect each time they bring their unit in, how the process is going to go through our shop, when we're going to be getting back with them on an update, and then actually do it. Comfort zones are crucial. So in management, you have to be the comfort zone movers. In addition to, you have to realize what's your own comfort zone. Are you actually not comfortable with holding your own employees accountable? We need to make certain that we get the most out of our business and of our employees. So let's look at where our comfort zones. Let's modify our own to be successful and then be the comfort zone mover for your employees. Successful people do what unsuccessful people won't do. That is a great quote. I want to repeat that. Successful people will do what unsuccessful people won't do. Success is a choice. You make that choice every morning when you get up. When you go to your store, when you talk to your employees, when you run your operation, you are making a choice. Let's be successful in 2022, and let's convince our employees what and why we need to do it. So let's talk about average. This is a simple little scale on 1 to 10, with 1 being best, 10 being worst, and 5 being average. So what do you think of when you're average? When you're average, does that mean you're the best of the worst? Or does it mean you're the worst of the best? What I find is that really nobody wants to be average, or at least they say they don't want to be average, but are they actually willing to do what it takes to be the best? Well, today I'm going to be talking about some things that might be a little bit outside your comfort zone, maybe even a little bit outside the box. But you know what? If you don't make the choice, commit yourself to be the best, you're going to end up right where you did last year. So we have to ask ourselves, how is our service and parts operation performing? Are our RO counts increasing? And when I say are they increasing just because we're selling more units and internal sales have gone up? No, what I'm really referring to is what is your retail business? And what I find happening right now in a lot of stores is retail business is actually down because they're short on techs. They're having to do more internal work because we're selling trailers, right? And or reconditioning used units that are out there. So retail repair order counts should actually be increasing. Are your service and parts sales increasing? And again, due to retail growth. Are we retaining and gaining new customers? If not, what can you do? Let's identify the opportunities for improvement. Here we are, we're going to look at an actual RV dealer that we worked with. First off, let's go through and see what kind of a trend that we have. This is an indication of the repair order counts. And I like to look especially at retail repair order counts, but you need to do one for retail as well as one for total RO counts. Look at it for the last couple of years. Granted, COVID last year is kind of an unusual year, but ultimately what we find, especially pre-COVID, is that that trend mirrors itself year after year. This was a store, they're up north, and you can see how their business drops off a lot in December, January, February when the snow flies, right? So that trend is going to happen again the next year and the next year. What are you going to do different in those years when that RO count drops off to continue your service and parts department's growth? Here's the labor trend analysis. And again, same store. By the way, this blue line is the recent 12 months, red line is prior 12 months. And overall, you can see how the shape of those graphs are the same, right? So with the shape being the same, and in fact, the blue line is even below the red line, that means that this last year actually was trending a little bit lower than the prior year, especially in retail sales. So what are we going to do different? Let's take a look at the parts trend analysis last year versus this year. Same thing, the graph, if you look at it, are shaped very similar, blue line being the recent 12 months, red line being the prior 12 months. And here we have a little bit of a parts growth over the prior year. Let's look at the repair order analysis. First column is shop supplies. You got to go through and actually do an analysis and see if you're charging shop supplies on each RO. When I visit stores around the country and do a repair order analysis, I find in a lot of cases that they're not charging shop supplies on every repair order. In fact, in some stores, it might even be less than 50%. And or if they are charging shop supplies, it's not consistent. It might be we've only charged $2 on $400 or $500 worth of labor. So here's the thing I want to caution you on. Shop supplies is just like a dock fee. And as you dealers and GMs know, you cannot pick and choose who you're going to charge a dock fee to on the sales end. If you do, you actually open yourself up for some lawsuits and especially some trouble from maybe even the Attorney General's office. Well, you know what? Shop supply is the exact same thing. Why should one customer get charged full shop supplies? Let's say maybe it's 10% of labor. Next customer comes in, only gets charged a flat $2 or $3 or $10. Next customer that comes in doesn't get charged anything. Be careful. Take a look at your operation. Make sure that you are charging shop supplies consistently on all work out there and that we're not reducing it. Next column over on this, we look at LOF stands for lube oil filter. This particular store does not do chassis work, nor do they sell motorized. Next column over is going to be one item repair orders. 85% of the repair orders that I reviewed in that only had one item on them. What does that tell you? It tells you that they're order takers. They are only doing what the customer requested when they brought the unit in. They're not using service menus, making recommendations on how to do preventative maintenance on that unit, nor are they going through and doing some sort of a health check to tell the customer what services need to be done. Next, we go through, and the next four columns on there are going to be the age of the units, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 4 years, 5 to 6, and 7 years plus. And this is an important thing to do when you do the repair order analysis. And by the way, I recommend doing somewhere between 50 to 75 retail repair orders on an analysis. These are the columns that you need to be looking at that I have listed here: shop supplies, one item, the age of the units, and did we do a multi-point inspection on it. In the beginning, I suggest you do that once a week, and then in turn two, have a meeting with your staff and talk about the results. Once you get the results where you feel like they should be, then you can scale it back and maybe do the analysis only once a month. I will tell you, this repair order analysis, it's not the most fun thing to do in the world. However, it's one of the most enlightening things about what's truly happening at your store. So again, 50 to 75 retail repair orders, do it weekly until you get the results that you expect. So here's our case study. We have an RV dealer that sells 600 units per year. Profit margin on labor is 65%. Profit margin on parts is 28%. Hours per repair order, 2.9. Number of repair orders per month, 171. Number of one item repair orders is 85%. Average age of the units serviced, 5 years. The technician efficiency, 33%. Currently booked out 4 weeks for business. His labor and parts gross profit per month is $67,000. Where are the opportunities for improvement when you look at these numbers? So we're going to discuss that. So first, let's prioritize. Where are our opportunities? Let's adjust our parts and labor pricing. Why do we want to do that? We want to go through and get the margins that we deserve. If you'll remember, benchmark on labor was 75% or higher on retail labor, and benchmark on retail parts was 40% or higher. Let's increase our technician productivity. This particular dealer was at 33%, extremely low. Remember, I mentioned earlier that the majority of dealers that I'm going into right now are somewhere between 50 and 60. With that being said, you really need to be a minimum of 85%, with 100% being your ultimate goal or target. How are we going to do that? We can do that through pay plans that motivate technicians, pay plans that are going to motivate advisors, as well as pay plans that are going to motivate managers to pay attention to the right things and make sure that we're doing the things that are, to make sure that they're doing the things that are important to you. Let's increase sales per repair order. Rather than going out there and really trying to bring more business in the door, and ultimately we want to do that, first, let's do a better job of what we've got, right? So let's increase our sales per repair order. How are we going to do it? I've touched bases on already. Let's have a good service menu that we present to every customer every time they come in for service. And let's have a unit health check that we do every customer every time on retail business. Let's increase the number of repair orders. How are we going to do that? A couple of ways. First off is let's have some good phone training. So when the customers do call into your store, what's the script that my advisor and or my cashier, whoever it is that's going to be answering that phone, what are they going to say? Are they just going to answer the customer's questions and hang up? This is just like on the front end when someone calls and asks about how much is a unit on the lot. What's the goal of that salesman? The goal is to get an appointment, right? It's the exact same way in service. We want to go through and get an appointment from the customers that call in. So why do they call in? J.D. Powers did a survey, and they says for every 5 customers that call in, 1 is to make an appointment, 1 is to check the status on their unit that's in. The other 3, or the majority of the calls, are for information. What does it cost? What do you think's wrong with it? When can you get to it? And how long is it going to take? So we need to have phone training for whoever it is that's talking with those customers so that it's centered around getting them to bring that unit into you for service. And then next, how do we schedule our appointments? Is it just a swag method? And we are just telling people that we're 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 weeks out? Well, you know what? Why don't we get those units in now? Let's get them in within 1, 2, or 3 days of when they call. And let's go through and do a triage. Do a triage within 24 to 48 hours, and let's figure out what's wrong with the unit. Then we can start the process of either getting authorization from warranty or authorization from the customer and order parts. Doesn't mean we're going to go ahead and work on it and fix it right now. But let's get the units in quickly rather than telling the customer it's 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or 8 weeks. Let's triage them within 24 to 48 hours, get back with the customer and or warranty, get that process rolling. It will help you increase the repair orders, shop productivity, as well as gross profits. Let's install performance-based pay plans. I touched on that earlier, but you should have performance-based pay plans for technicians, service advisors, service manager, warranty administrators, as well as parts people. So what's holding you back? Why don't we go through and address these items in your store, and let's make 2022 the best year yet? So accountability. We find that accountability is not happening in the majority of the stores. Let's set standards for all employees, share it with them, and then let's give them feedback on those standards. Let's determine what is a top performer versus an underachiever. We find that people don't know how to or don't want to. You know what? If they don't know how to, we can help those people. Let's provide the tools and the training to make them successful. However, if they choose the do not want to, you know what? That's not the right person for that job, and or maybe not even the right person for your store. So you've got to determine that. We've got to make sure that they know exactly what's expected of them. We've got to give them constant feedback on that, and in turn to provide the tools and training. But ultimately, if they choose not to, what are you going to do about it? Employee buy-in should not be optional. Now, this is a topic that's been around for a long time, and I hear a lot of dealers say, well, Ken, I don't know if my employees are going to buy in to doing a multi-point inspection or a unit health check on every unit that comes in. So if your employees don't buy in and don't want to do that, is that acceptable? You know what? That's really not what's best for your customers. We need to do what's best for our customers. And you know what? By doing that, we actually make more money for ourselves, and our employees make more money. So the key is, yeah, we do need buy-in, but you, Mr. Dealer, Mr. General Manager, Mr. Service Manager, your job is to sell your employees on why it's best for the store, best for the customer, and actually best for them. And you know what? When it's good for all three, it's something that should not be optional. So let's make sure and sell our employees on buy-in, and let's get it. You're not running a democracy. This is a business. Mr. Dealer, for you, you're 100% commission paycheck, right? So let's get our employees to do the things that we feel are what's best for our business. So who needs training? The owner does. And what do I mean by that? I found that most owners came up through the sales side of the business. They understand the sales side of the business extremely well. However, do they really understand service and parts? So one of the things at Dealer Pro Training, when we come to your store, we will help the owner understand service and parts and how to spend just a little bit of time every day to truly determine, is that service and parts department making the most of their daily operations? The general manager also needs service and parts training. The service manager, most service managers we have found have not had any formal training. They might have been a technician, maybe a service advisor, and or maybe even came from outside the industry. Who trained them to be a good service manager? In most cases, nobody. In fact, in most cases, they've taught themselves on the job. So bring Dealer Pro into your store. We will teach that service manager on truly how to manage his people, motivate them, and run the business. Parts managers, again, who's trained your parts manager? Most of them just learned on the job. Service advisors, that person is the contact between you and your customer. The service advisors can make or break your store. And what we have found, most service advisors have not had any formal training. Think about how many people they deal with a day versus a salesman. Also, think about the importance. Your salesman, how many times does he see and talk to that customer? Once, twice? Once the unit's sold, does he talk to him again? Maybe, maybe not. They see your service advisor when they come back in, typically at least yearly, right? And in some cases more. That service advisor is a crucial link to you retaining that customer as well as maximizing your service and parts profitability. And then last is technicians. They obviously need training, and they need technical training, but in addition to the technical training, they also need guidance on good processes, how things should be done, when should they be communicating with parts, with advisors, with management. So you know what? We find that by training these people, you indeed will maximize gross. It's time to start selling your fixed ops team on the need for change. Selling is simply the transfer of enthusiasm, and it truly is, right? It's a transfer of enthusiasm. So Mr. Dealer, Mr. GM, Mr. Service Manager, when you're going to sell your employees on the need for change, you've got to believe in it yourself. You need to be enthusiastic about it, and you need to transfer that enthusiasm over to them as to why it's important for your customer, for your business, and for the employee. Enthusiasm is contagious. It starts with the dealer, goes through the general manager, then goes through service and parts management, advisors and techs, and ultimately your customers. Whether you realize it or not, you train your customers every time they come into your business. Hopefully, it's a good training and not a bad training. Show you care by asking the question. And what do I mean by that? If there was just one thing that I could do for you that would make your job more productive and more enjoyable, what would it be? Let's ask that question to our service and parts personnel. I'll repeat it. If there was just one thing I could do for you that would make your job more productive and more enjoyable, what would it be? I've had dealers and GMs say, Ken, I can't ask my employees that. Oh my gosh, everyone else is going to say, oh, I want more money, or oh, I need this, or oh, I need that. You know what? That's not the case. We've done this in a multitude of stores. And what we find is that by far the majority of the time, in fact, it was over 80% of the time, they come back and it's equipment related. Might be we need some equipment in the shop. Maybe we have a computer not working, so forth. At one store, when we asked that question, you know what? Well, by the way, this was service advisors. This particular store had 3 service advisors. We went up to each advisor one at a time and asked this very question. And you know what they said? I'd like to have a chair. They did not have a chair. Their workstation was in the write-up area, and it had been, I guess, determined in the past, or at least thought it was the right thing to do, that if they didn't have a chair, they would be more inclined to go out and meet and greet the customer at the unit, to do all the things that they should do rather than sitting in the chair. Well, you know what? That employee is there in most cases for 9 hours, some even 10 hours a day. So at this particular store, they provided a chair, and it meant a lot to those employees. But ask that question. You'll be surprised on what you hear. And you know what? When you go through and actually do something about those issues, it will help build a relationship between you and your employees and show them that you really do care. So how will a fixed operations trainer impact your bottom line? This is a store that we trained in. This particular store had 14 technicians. And if you look down at the very bottom, you'll see in gray, it says before Dealer Pro training. And then to the right of that at the bottom, it says in blue, after Dealer Pro training. This was a 12-month training program that we did a store. And you can see that the parts sales prior to Dealer Pro training were just a little over $1 million. Parts sales after Dealer Pro were over $1,600,000. It was a 65% increase in year over year. If we look at labor sales initially was a little over $1,250,000. It went up to almost $2,250,000. It's a 52% increase in labor sales. Ultimately, gross profits were up 67.3%. How would you like to have that similar increase in your store? If you remember earlier, I mentioned the majority of the stores that we train in see at least a 30% improvement. We have some stores out there that have actually doubled their gross profit improvement year over year. So if you have the perfect processes in place to get exactly what you got last year, then do something different in 2022. Go through, look at those areas that we talked about earlier, look at your own store, figure out what your priorities are, put together a game plan, get excited about it, share that game plan with your management team, create enthusiasm, get their buy-in, and then let's meet with the rest of the employees and let's put it in place in 2022. A personal trainer in your dealership working with your team every month. By training your team in the art of putting your customer first, you will improve repair event cycle time, you will exceed customer expectations, you will build owner retention and CSI, you will increase technician productivity, measure performance daily, maximize net profits, and 100% accountability training puts your managers in control. You know what? In sports, in all types of business, there is a personal trainer involved with the best performing people and teams. Why not have one for your store? Do you have a profit improvement plan? If you have good people, if you have good processes, then you need a Dealer Pro RV trainer. Why is that? We're going to help you maximize the most out of those people. We have an RVDA special of $7,500 for a 3-day, and that's 3 full-day visit. That's an all-inclusive price, covers our travel expenses, everything. We will come to your store, spend 3 days. We'll work on service menus, build those for you. We're going to implement a unit health check. We'll talk about a triage process and put that in place. We're going to go over employee pay plans. We will help you meet your goals for 2022. You need a dealer pro trainer in your dealership, training your team to help you improve repair event cycle time, exceed customer expectations, increase tech productivity, and maximize net profits. And again, we have our RVDA specialist $7,500, which does include travel expenses. So sign up now for your in-dealership profit potential analysis and business plan. We will come to your store at no charge and do a 2-year parts and service profit potential analysis. We're going to build you 7 reports. 6 of those reports, we're going to talk about your store's performance, how it compares to industry benchmarks and guides in any area that you have an opportunity and or are below industry benchmark and guide. We will basically tell you these are the processes that we would put in place in your store, and this is the training that we provide. So we're going to give you the plan for success. Ultimately, if you like what you hear, let's do some business. But if you don't, you have absolutely nothing to lose, no strings attached. The only thing that we ask is that you reimburse our travel-related expenses. So I've got an email address on here, results@dealerprotraining.com, or you can call our 800 number, 888-553-0100, to talk to us about setting up your profit improvement plan. And if you're ultimately going to be at RVDA, come by and visit our booth number 207. Thanks for listening to me today. I really appreciate your time. I'm passionate about this business. If you are going to be at RVDA, please stop by and see me. And by the way, I'm going to be conducting 2 workshops this year. In addition, Don Reed, our CEO, will also be conducting a workshop at RVDA. I hope to see you there, but if not, please go through and watch our other videos. Thanks, and let's make it a great day.